Today, I want to talk about money games. Everyone plays them, and we all know what they are. There's the borrow from the lender and then maybe dodge them till we can afford to pay. There's the use credit cards like their income. There's the buy now, pay later. There's the I'll get caught up at the end of the week game. And of course, there is the shell game of which bill should I pay this week or even this month. Money games. Usually they're very bad and everyone plays them. Today, we're going to talk about good money games. I'm randomly going to select 100 of you to receive your own gold-plated coin. I used to carry around a gold coin kind of similar to this one right here. Not to spend, but because it reminded me of wealth. And it was a symbol for me of what was to come and what I could achieve financially. As a thank you for your support, I want to give you a little piece of motivation to remind you of what you can achieve and the results that you can get in life. So, when this channel hits 500 subscribers, I'm randomly going to select 100 of you to receive your own gold-plated coin. These coins are real currency from around the world that have been plated in 100 mils of fine gold. Now, this might not make you rich, but it just might give you enough inspiration, as sometimes just holding a little bit of wealth in your hands can make you feel a certain way and drive you to go out and achieve the best results. My hope is that you not only achieve all of your financial goals, but also that you then take that knowledge and go out and pass it back to the world. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, like this video, and you are automatically in the running. How many people wish they had $5 from every paycheck they ever had? Just $5 put away from every paycheck you've ever made. Maybe you've been working just 2 or 3 years and you're new to the workforce. Maybe you've been working for 10, 20, or 30 years. But imagine you had just $5 from every paycheck you ever made. I ask this question when I'm talking to groups of people about finances. I mean, even just $5. I mean, what is that? In a 52-week year, that's about $260. If you did that for 10 years, that's $2,600. But imagine you had also invested along the way. You know, maybe you kept up with gold and silver and bought in and sold out a little bit. Maybe you just put it in the S&P 500. Your $2,600 could easily be $4,000 to $5,000 if you had invested a little bit. Why do I say that? Because most people can't save money. They all say the same things. And I used to say the same thing. I mean, I need all the money I make. When I make money, it's for me, it's for spending. I worked for this money and I need it. Saving money is hard. I can't do it. But what happened is when I was really young, in my early 20s, I ended up buying my first piece of property. And I got started kind of early and I found a property. And I had this thing called a mortgage. And when you have a mortgage, things get really serious. All of a sudden, your money's not just for you. I mean, it is because it's my mortgage and my home, but I needed to make sure this got paid. I didn't want to get upside down. I didn't want to get in trouble. And I certainly didn't want to lose my first property. So I had to start inventing money games that worked to help me save money instead of all the games I played to help me give it away. So I did certain things. Now, back in the day, I owned a business, a construction business. Even at that early age, I worked with my father and eventually ended up taking over and having my own business, which I still own today. I'm an entrepreneur and I have many businesses and I still own this construction business. When you would do a job, 20, 30 years ago, people would give you this thing called a check. I know today people don't see a lot of checks, right? Maybe you have direct deposit or a digital deposit, or your employer just puts it directly in your bank and you just don't see it until it shows up on a ledger on a screen. But we would get checks. Physical checks were the thing. And you would also operate with a bit more cash, meaning I had to go to a bank and cash that check and then maybe deposit those funds into my checking account. And one of the things I used to do was take a little bit for me, right? That would be like my weekly, spending money. So when you would do this, when you cash a check, let's just say the check was for $557, the cashier would always say, "How would you like that back, sir?" And I would always say large. I mean, I'm always going to say large, right? But what about that $57? That could come back in some 20s or 10s, a 5, maybe a couple of 1s. right? So I started playing this game, a money game, my first money game, really, if you will. And it was, I had heard about currencies and currencies failing around the world, right? There's currencies that exist that don't exist today. And we've invented new currencies like the euro dollar. When a currency fails, a lot of times, I mean, the government doesn't back that money anymore. And I said, what if our currency failed? What if I just cashed this large check and I've got all this money and they tell me, hey, 20s are no longer good in America. 10s are no longer good. There's a problem with them. We're no longer going to issue that currency. I mean, we have had currencies phased out before. Many people never see $2 bills anymore, even though they're still out there. Many people have never seen a $500 or a $1,000 bill, which do exist. But these aren't currencies which are regularly used. So I said, I'm going to pretend this month that ones are no good. And anytime I get a $1 bill, whether it's from cashing a check or whether it's from walking into a coffee shop and I spend a $5 and the coffee was $2 and they give me back $3, I'm going to pretend those $3 are no good. And I'm just going to put them right into savings. And I did this on the first month, and I saw that little pile of singles build up. So I got excited, and I said, wow, I saved money, and I didn't really even feel it. I didn't notice it. I mean, I was able to put some money aside. Back then, I was just using the envelope system. I had a little safe at home, and I'd stick it in the envelope with the ones. So I decided on the next month, I wonder if I could do this with a larger bill. So I did it with $5 bills. Now, when I went to the bank to cash a check, when they asked me, how would you like the money back, sir? I just threw my hands up and said, whatever's convenient, whatever you have. So, if she owed me $425, well, that $25 might end up all in fives. That would mean I have to put them away. They're no good this month. They are no longer good. So I played that game in my mind. I ended up doing this for a whole year, and I would up the denomination of the bill every month. So the next month I went to 10s, then to 20s, 50s, and I even did this with hundreds. Now, I'm not saying that was easy those last 2 months, but you actually don't get a lot of 50s. And I would only get a lot of hundreds if they gave me all large when I went to the bank. And I would still just pull out that, $100 at the time for my weekly, just to put in my pocket. Now, the reason why I did that with the cash is having $100 was a way for me to keep track and stay on budget. If I had just used a debit card or just written checks, back in the day, you could write a lot of checks for things. You could actually walk into a department store and write a check for the thing you were purchasing. When you write a check, sometimes you're not keeping, an eye on your balances. You're not balancing your checkbook. It's the same thing when you use a debit card. It's the same thing when you use a credit card. So I wouldn't do any of that. I just started using the cash. That $100 was for my week. I could always open my wallet and see how much I had left and not go over budget. I ended up doing this, and in a 12-month period, you'll lap it and do it twice. You'll go back to ones on month 7, and by December, I was at hundreds again. In the first year of doing this, I saved over $5,000 in cash. Then I put that into the bank and, of course, could use it to pay my bills. But that got me in a habit, a discipline, if you will, that I didn't even feel it. By the time I was getting back to ones after the first time of, saving 50s and hundreds, it seemed like nothing. It seemed so easy. Like, who's not going to save $1? This is just $1. I mean, last month I was saving hundreds. So it's just a habit. And any habit can be a good habit or a bad habit. And with money, we normally develop bad habits. Along with doing this, I did a couple other things, but one is something you hear about today. It's called keep the change. And that's funny because 30, 40 years ago, I called this keep the change. Since I was spending that cash I had in my pocket, you would get change back everywhere you went. You're going to get some change, some pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, whatever. And I would just tell myself that I'm going to save that. And when it built up to a certain amount, I'm just going to roll it and I'm going to just deposit into the bank. So keep the change. Today, they have programs like Keep the Change, in which you don't spend the change. But since you're spending it digitally, they automatically revolve it and usually drop it into some investment account. Not a big fan of that because I'm not in control of that investment. I don't know where it's going or what it's doing, and neither do you. You just know that you're saving some money, but you are now putting your change somewhere where it could go up, but it also could go down. So it's allowing someone to invest that money for you, and it's really just a gamble. All investing is a gamble. The only investing that's not a gamble is when you invest in yourself. So I like to make my financial decisions. And if you're having a problem saving, then you want to get in the habit of doing it. I think a lot of people think, oh, it'll just be easier if I do it that way. So you're taking all the responsibility away from yourself. So even with keep the change, I would do that. And it's funny, they call it that today, and that's what I called it, 40 years ago. Another game I would play, I've discussed this in another video, so I'll keep it brief, but it's the rule of 5. The rule of 5 simply saved me a million times because it saved me from spending money that I thought I had, that it looks like I had, that I really do not. The rule of 5 simply stated says all my bills must be paid and I must have 5 times the amount of money that I'm ready to spend. So that means if I want to go out and buy a new set of boots, and the boots are $200, that 5 times 200 would be $1,000. I would need to have all my bills current and have $200 that I can pull out and pay out of $1,000. So I need 5 times that $200. Many times people get caught because they think that, hey, I only want to spend $200 and I have $800. I'm good, like I can spend that money. They allow themselves only that little cushion, but what happens? I'm going to tell you what happens. Life happens. Things happen every single week. You could have a blowout that was unexpected. They could go up with your car insurance. You could have a family emergency or a medical emergency, and now you need money for that too. So in the meantime, you only had $800. You went and spent $2. That leaves you $6. You also forgot that you were at the end of the month and rent is due in just a couple of days, or car insurance or any other bill. Maybe something unexpected happens during the week and your friends are having a night out and they really want you to be a part of it and they call you and you're like, oh, now I'm going to have to blow another $100 out of that too. And quickly you watch that money disintegrate. When you know all your bills are paid, you're good for this month, you know you're good for next month, and you want to go buy something that's $100. It's not a lot to ask to use the rule of 5 and have 500 in there. Life is going to happen. Hopefully you're spending money wisely, but this is just a little trick, a little game you can play with yourself to spend it more wisely. Now let's talk about the ultimate money game, the final frontier in money games that you could be using now, later, in the future, that you should always be using. It's called the money game of using a budget. Most people aren't doing this. And I think I gave the stats in another video that show that many people who are budgeting aren't even following it. What's the point in creating a budget and not following it? But it really is the ultimate money game. There's so many different programs, apps, and version of a budget out there. You just have to make the one that fits your life. That's all that's important when creating a budget. Don't worry about all of these other budgets that other people have created. Come up with your own budget that works for you, which gets your bills paid, which gives you some money for short term, gives you some money for long term, and savings. That's it. That's all you need. If you know your bills are covered and you're covering yourself for long-term savings and putting some money for short-term, things that might pop up, and then still getting money into your peace of mind account, then you're going to be covered. You're going to do okay. You won't run out of money unless you have a huge tragedy or unless you're overspending. So don't play the bad money games, but learn to play the good money games. And they start, of course, with having a budget and making sure that you save something. My name is Daniel F. Margasa. You are watching the Almost Criminal Millionaire. And if you enjoy learning about the topics of money, finance, and how to save for your financial future, then please like and subscribe for more.